Ohio State had a chance to make a statement and instead walked away with a 66-60 loss to Michigan State.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Monday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast. Part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now the number one sports podcast network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes. And today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. We put that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work that defines you. Stay tuned for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. During today's show, we'll discuss what's next to the Buckeyes as Jake Diebler strives to keep team morale high, as well as Bruce Thornton's monster game. But first, the Buckeyes knew the trip to East Lansing wasn't going to be an easy one. Michigan State is the number 15 team in the land. They're one of the better rebounding teams in the country. And anytime you're playing a team coached by Tom Izzo, I bet you know you're in for a battle. On top of that, the Buckeyes are still without John Mobley Jr. and Brandon Noel. Listed as questionable for this game were Devin Royal and Amari Bynum. Bynum started, Royal didn't play. And when you hear those facts laid out, you would assume Ohio State lost by 10 to 15 points. That wasn't the case in large part because of what the Buckeyes were able to do in the first half. Ending the first 20 minutes of play with a 26-23 lead. The Buckeyes defense was strong in the first half, and Jake Diebler dialed up the right mix of man and zone, and it helped Ohio State force Michigan State to take some tough shots late in the shot clock. But here's where things were in Michigan State's favor. Ohio State's rebounding is poor. It was poor once again a day ago. Michigan State sometimes got those rebounds off of late shots in the shot clock to create some easy second chance opportunities. They score, going the other way. In the second half, the Buckeyes and Spartans were tied at 45 with about 8 minutes left. And I'm thinking to myself in my head, man, this is a moment for Bruce Thornton to take over and get the ball, take the rock, run away with it, and lead the Buckeyes to victory. He wasn't able to do it because Michigan State started to get some easy baskets in the paint and take advantage of Ohio State's poor interior defense over and over and over again. Drive to the basket, layup. Drive to the basket, layup. Oh, throw it into the post. Couple dribbles, make a move. Boom, you're scoring, going the other way. And Michigan State was just too much for the Buckeyes. And this game, to me, there's a phrase to me that describes this game, and it also describes a lot of Ohio State games. Close, but no cigar, which is a bad mark for this team. There's too much talent on this team to allow this to be the reality over and over and over and over again. But here we are once again, a day after an Ohio State loss, and close but no cigar describes this game. Bruce Thornton can't do it all. And when you know that you're shorthanded without Mobley and Noel and Royal and Bynum is dealing with an ailment and he still is able to go, you know you need more from Tilly. You need more from Chatman and Puff Johnson, but you need more from guys that don't have the confidence. They don't have the confidence in and of themselves to believe that they can do what is needed to maybe score 15 points or maybe score 10 points. They don't have the confidence in themselves. You can tell up there when you're watching the basketball, certain guys don't want it in certain moments. I believe there was a drive. It was a drive in a fast break opportunity. I believe it was Colin White got the pass from Thornton. He immediately passed the ball to somebody else who ended up scoring. But to me, it could have been White or Cups. I forget exactly which one was under the basket. Whoever was under the basket, immediate pass. Now, if you turn, they had an easy 2-point shot. You could have saved a second, then gone back the other way. But they made the pass, and it led to a score. But to me, I'm thinking, do you have the confidence in yourself to turn around and score when you're right by the basket? This team, I'm encouraged. I'm trying to be as positive as possible, be optimistic. I'm encouraged because to only lose by 6 when you're without those guys, 3 guys that have started games for you this year, that's a positive. It's a step in the right direction. But it's not because you're still losing. And without Mobley, can you score enough points to beat Iowa and Purdue? the next 2 games of your schedule, you're trying to make sure that you can score enough points without your second leading scorer to beat those teams. And they didn't do it against Michigan State. We'll talk more about the Iowa and Purdue games down the road and later in the week. But this is just another bad moment for this team. They didn't really shoot well in this one. 44% from the field, 18% from downtown. The worst part about that number, not the 18%, they shot 4 of 22 from beyond the 3-point line. That's garbage. Once you start missing that many shots, try to get something closer to the basket, a higher percentage shot. That makes too much sense to me. But these guys want to keep shooting from downtown. I want to keep trying to make sure they can extend their range. No, you're missing a shot. Get something closer to the basket. Also, the free throw shooting plagues them once again. They only shot 59% from the 3-point line, from the charity stripe. That's not great at all. Michigan State's poor shooting in the first half kind of carried over to the second half as well. Only shot 40% from the field, 27% from downtown. But they made 72% of their free throws. The Buckeyes were -6 in the rebounding category, which is huge. Because if they would have had that even, the Buckeyes would have had a chance to upset Michigan State. There are moments in this game where I'm watching it. I'm thinking back to a movie that I watched when I was a youngster where the Temptations, literally the Temptation movie, they were about to go out on stage for a concert. They had a rift already with David Ruffin, and they knew Ruffin may come in, but they weren't sure. And so Ruffin came, ended up getting his way to backstage, going up on stage when the Temptations were about to start and introduce themselves for a concert. He gets the microphone, walks out onto the stage and says, "My name is David Ruffin, and these are the Temptations." And there are moments when I was watching this game, of what I was thinking about when I'm thinking about Bruce Thornton, how he is playing, and the lack of help he is getting at times. Because he did what was needed to keep Ohio State in this game, but man, he didn't get the help needed by the others or the supporting cast to keep Ohio State in reach, really, to win this one. It's not great. If I'm Jake Diebler, my goodness, my own morale might be a little bit low. Because here we go once again. The Buckeyes keep it close, but they can't find a way to win. Now, the reality of the conversation is you're without 4 guys that are 3 guys for you that are key players. And so that's a problem. But was it really the only problem? No. If that was the only problem, you would expect Amari Bauder to give you 10 to 15 and about 5 to 8 rebounds. You would expect that. You would expect Tilly to do Tilly things. And Tilly in this game, 10 points, 8 rebounds, higher than a season average on rebounding. That's better than you would expect. I have been calling for a while for Taison Chatman to get more in the offense. Like he was 2 of 8 shooting. Granted, Michigan State's defense on him was pretty good. He had a good look early, missed it, and then made one a little bit later. And so Michigan State knew if he gets hot, if he gets confident, this could be a harder battle for us. But this isn't a good look for Jake Diebler. It's not a great look for the team. Shorthanded, you keep it close, but close isn't good enough. What was good enough for the Buckeyes was what they got from Bruce Thornton, because, man, that young brother had a monster game. This episode is brought to you by Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Thank you all for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen of the day and for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. One thing we all got to witness on Sunday afternoon was Bruce Thornton doing Bruce Thornton things. He was a young man that when the Buckeyes needed somebody to score, he was in rhythm. He's been playing strong basketball of late, possibly the best basketball of his Buckeye career, which is a big reason why he was the second all-time scorer in Ohio State history. And they needed his scoring in a big way against Michigan State. Remember, let's be reminded now, Royal was listed as questionable. He didn't play. Mobley Jr. out. Brandon Noel still out. And you know Amari Bynum is not 100%. He's dealing with the ailment. And so Bruce Thornton knew he needed to raise his level of play to give the Buckeyes a shot to pull off a massive upset. And one of my favorite things about watching Bruce Thornton play is his use of angles and knowing I can drive here, get around him, kind of curl a little bit around his body to protect him from keep him away from the ball to get to the basket, 2 easy points. Remember, he's 6'2", 215 pounds. That's not the normal size of a lot of basketball players that are 6'2". And so when you add that, he can stretch you out, shoot the three. His basketball IQ is so high, more often than not, he is making the right basketball play. And Bruce Thornton, his 32 points on 12-22 shooting, yeah, you would say, well, Jay, did he really struggle in any area? Yeah, he struggled. He's only 2 of 8 from downtown. He had 4 rebounds and 2 assists. But the Buckeyes needed every basket. The Buckeyes needed everything he provided. And now you would hope that he would be able to make both of the free throws that he missed and be a little bit better from downtown. But you can't get all up in arms about that because they needed him to raise his level of play. We've been talking about this for a few weeks now. This basketball team needs to raise their level of play and keep it at a level that is sustainable for them to hit every single time they're on the court. Well, I think individually, Bruce Thornton has found that level. And this big game they got from him, he showed it off in a big way. Go back and look at the highlights. You can look at a condensed version of the game on the YouTube. I believe CBS Sports already has that up for your enjoyment to go back and look at the game clips and some of the key moments in the game, because you're going to look out there and see Bruce Thornton hooping and going off and doing what he has done late in the year. The Buckeyes need more of this. It is not his fault that multiple starters are injured. I say multiple. I know Noel is not starting now. I don't believe he was starting before he got hurt because Amari Bynum ended up being pushed into the starting lineup. But Noel is out. Started multiple games this year. Mobley out. Second leading scorer. Royal out. Just had a 25-point game. Somebody has to score extra. You're not getting a lot of help off the bench. So who else can score for you? This one is a moment for Bruce Thornton to where he can look at that and say, if I can do that against Michigan State, I have to do it the rest of the way for us to make the NCAA tournament. This is where you are. This is where the Buckeye season is. You're leaning on a guy who could be a first-round pick in the NBA draft, who's working with a depleted roster and saying, the show is yours. We're going to go as far as you take us. Nobody wants to hear that right now, especially when you're on the bubble. That's a lot of pressure on anybody. I don't care if you're a senior in college or if you're a 13-year vet. Nobody wants to hear the pressure's on your shoulders. We're going to go as far in the postseason as you take us. Now, I say that knowing that there are some guys that welcome the pressure. I mean, Jeremiah says it all the time. Pressure is a privilege. Some guys welcome it and love it. Other guys, they deal with it very well, while also acknowledging that they don't want the pressure at all, but they know it's a part of the game. Thornton, It's unfortunate. It really is. He is a Buckeye great. He has the opportunity to be the all-time leading scorer in Ohio State history. He ain't making the NCAA tournament. No, sorry, Bob. We will talk more about that tomorrow because I am out on the team making the NCAA tournament. Even if Bruce Thornton is averaging 30 points for the rest of the regular season, as well as in the conference tournament, I don't see this team having the goods and playing well enough to get there. It's not great. And if I'm Thornton, he would handle this better than a lot of people that are watching this show or listening to it right now on the audio podcast feed. He would handle it like a professional would, realizing it's only so much he can do. He's not going to get upset with his teammates for what they are doing or what they can't do. He's not going to get upset with them. But the natural thing for a lot of people in this moment is to have a David Ruffin moment. This is about me. This is about me, myself, and I. This is about BT. This is about what me and my talents. This ain't about y'all. Well, I need y'all to play better. Hey, come up to this level, man. Play a whole lot better. He's going to handle it like a professional. He won't get immature. He won't act out. He's going to be very, very mature with how he handles the aftermath of this loss. But also moving forward, you have to have more games like this. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He has to show up and put up literally 30 plus against Iowa, Purdue, Penn State, and IU. He may be able to get by with it against Penn State because Penn State isn't good. But if Royal will not be out the rest of the season. I believe he has an illness that kept him out of this game. My wife made a comment during the game, and she looked out there and said, Royal doesn't look sick to me. And he was standing up, cheering his team on and trying to give them instructions during the game. I'm just relaying the thought that came through. I'm not saying that she has any close ties to the coaching staff or any insider knowledge. She just knows what is said on the broadcast as well as what she sees with her own two eyes. I'm going to leave it there. Y'all can speculate, have some conversations here in the chat about Devin Royal. I believe he will be back. Now, what level of Royal will you get? That's TBD, to be determined. Because if you get the 25-point a game Royal, huge. If you get the Royal that played and only scored 4 points against Virginia, that will be a problem. What hasn't been a problem and which is also a massive benefit for Ohio State, is Bruce Thornton's play. His ability to know when to drive, when to kick, when to shoot, when to swing it around the yard. His ability to know all of that at an elite level is the biggest reason why Ohio State stayed in this game. Because if he was a combo guard that was a score-first guy, he may have had more points, but how does that work with the team chemistry? That nobody knows. Nobody knows. What we do know is this. Bruce Thornton went off. He's going to have to go off every time the Buckeyes are on the court for them to make the NCAA tournament. Speaking of making the NCAA tournament, that's on the front of Jake Diebler's mind because he is trying to figure out how to put the pieces together and keep team morale high so Ohio State is very confident heading to the rest of their games in the regular season. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. This is Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen. And this week's moving the game forward player, or at least today's, is easily Bruce Thornton. 32 points in the loss to Michigan State, and he was the guy. He put the team on his back, and he said, follow me. I will lead you to the promised land. While the Buckeyes didn't get to the promised land, another 32-point performance. He is now number 2 in Ohio State history in all-time scoring, and man, he can fill it up. His basketball Q is at an all-time high. Once he gets downhill, he's very difficult to stop. His three-point shot is falling, and man, the Buckeyes need somebody to step up, but they have a lot of absences due to injuries and an illness. Bruce Thornton is the guy. These remind us of what it really takes to raise the bar. It's that extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and I never quit. We put that same passion into every model. Highlights make the reel. What it took to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flight, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is a perfect time to lock it in. I love futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab a conference title. It adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now, not only can you pick cash, but it can also send you to the NBA Finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on any NBA future and get entered for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you all for tapping and Locked on Buckeyes and for making this show your first listen of the day. Ohio State is in a spot they don't want to be in, where they are still on the bubble. People are saying that they are still a team that can make the field of 68, but they got to get some big wins down the stretch. And well, they have a couple of opportunities to pick up some huge wins this week on the road at Iowa and then also at Purdue. One thing you need to remember about this team is that team morale might be slipping. It might be going down the drain. And while it might be going down the drain, it's not there yet. There is still time for Jake Diebler to figure out how to put the pieces of the puzzle together so everyone's on the same page, so everyone believes there is still an opportunity for us to make the NCAA tournament. Because right now, that's the only conversation you're talking about. You're not thinking about the NIT or the college basketball crown. You're trying to get invited to the field of 68. And let's just say Ohio State does make the field of 68 and they are invited to the NIT. Go. You go. Now, unless the Buckeyes are hit with the portal bug and numerous players are not going to play anymore because they're declaring for the portal, that's a conversation where you actually have to think about, then you don't go because you don't want to play those games, only 5 players, 6 players. You don't want to do that. But if you have enough players to be healthy and to be competitive in those games, go. Those are huge for your development and for your growth as a player and as a team. The issue with the postseason is I guarantee Ross Bjork is trying to figure out if he has to let Diebler go or if Diebler stays. I mean, these are real conversations that should be being had right now about this team, because if you make the tournament, you still might not believe in Jake Diebler, but are you going to let a guy go who just made the NCAA tournament for the first time in a few years? Let me know your thoughts there, because I saw somebody in the Discord that made a comment about Jake Diebler and saying, hey, can we get a real coach, get him out, because we want to make sure that we have a team that is good, not a mediocre team. That's not the word for word their comment, but they know who they are. They know that this is the reality of this team, because this team isn't strong in every area or strong enough in certain areas so that they overcome some of their weaknesses. One of the issues in this game that I didn't mention earlier that I kind of just glossed over because I realized, well, this is the reality of this team. Ohio State assisted on 8 of their 23 made field goals, while Michigan State assisted on 18 of their 22 made field goals. Why they're playing so much hero ball or one-on-one basketball is beyond me. It doesn't make any sense. But bad teams make those kinds of moves late in games. If you're the Ohio State fan, if you're a Spartan fan, you would expect that the ball movement, it being crisply going around the yard and making sure that when you find the open man, you find him quickly to put the ball in the basket. I'm not mad at Bruce Thornton right now. Nowhere close. Diebler shouldn't be either. But 2 things Diebler can work on moving forward, and these have been problems for Ohio State for a while. Better ball movement to create easier shots, as well as working on rebounding. There was no reason, absolutely no reason, Or the Buckeyes tall men are bad rebounders. I have lost count on how many times in this game alone Christoph Tilly had the ball. He would start driving to the basket and stop. Or he would get the ball on the block and would not take big power moves or power dribbles or even know how to be a little creative in a finesse way to put the ball in the basket. It's been a problem for Ohio State for a very, very, very long time, and it's still a problem for the Buckeyes to where you have guys that are tall, they're not big, and teams are taking advantage of the lack of size and physicality in the game, in this team. Diebler has to figure out how to quickly get these guys to believe in themselves, how to quickly get them to become better rebounders, because if he doesn't, more Ohio State fans will be upset, and there will be conversations about why Ohio State basketball has a different standard than the rest of the athletic teams at Ohio State. Because if you look at the wrestling team or baseball, who got rid of a coach recently to try to get something else going, to be more competitive, gymnastics, you name the sport, football, the standard is championships, conference and national championships. Clearly, the standard at Ohio State is not, internally at least, it is not conference and national championships, which is why the Buckeyes are currently where they are. They don't have aspirations, and the standard is not that, because if the standard is to make the NCAA tournament and to push for a national championship as well as winning a conference title, some of the issues Ohio State has had this year wouldn't be there, because the offseason roster construction would have been a whole lot better. I have not gotten on Diebler for bringing in a guy out of the portal that wasn't going to play this year. Now, maybe the belief was that maybe he can play this year, but even if he played, he was more of a project, treating it kind of like a mid-major program, not like a program like Ohio State, where you should be able to get guys from any school in the country to look at Ohio State and say, well, that's a real school, a team that knows what it takes to win, a team that knows how to get to the promised land. No one looks at Ohio State like that right now. No one looks out there and says, well, they have championship aspirations and they know how to get there. No, not at all, which is the problem. It's a very, very big problem. So for Jake Diebler, he's got to figure out what buttons to push, buttons that he should just leave alone for the rest of the year. He needs to figure out what he can do to boost individual player morale. There is going to be a moment they're going to need buckets, consistent buckets, maybe 10 points from a Puff Johnson, Taison Chatman, Gabe Cupps, Colin White. I don't know. They're going to need points for them. I don't know if they have the confidence in themselves to be able to score as often as they need them to score due to the injuries Ohio State is currently suffering. This isn't a good place for the Buckeyes to be for Jake Diebler either, but they're here because of their play. They're here because of Diebler's coaching. They are here because the team has individual talent, but as you look out there and you watch you watch Duke and Michigan battle, you see Kansas play basketball, you see Arizona play basketball, you see Houston play basketball, and you wonder why their guys look different than Ohio State's players, why they are longer, faster, quicker, smarter than some of Ohio State's players. That goes back to Jake Diebler. He put the roster together. Remember, he got guys to stick around after Chris Holman was fired, and he was the interim head coach, then promoted to being the full-time head coach. He got guys to stick around. Guys are recruiting to play for him. He is helping all this stuff stay afloat. And while he is accomplishing those goals, the team he is leading isn't as strong as it used to be. Thank you all for tapping and Locked on Buckeyes and for making this show your first listen of the day. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. This has been Locked on Buckeyes on a Monday. We'll see you next time.